Hello, I'm David Jones, and as I'm not doing any live streams for a couple of weeks because it's that time of year when we're all away, hopefully, I just thought I'd still do a quick update on the NASDAQ, because we have seen a reasonable slide in this market and stock markets in general. We've got to go back quite a few months to see a slide in the NASDAQ like we've had over the last few weeks. So I thought let's do a quick update because maybe there's an opportunity here. So just for a quick recap, if we look at the performance of the NASDAQ this year, it's been a great trend. At its peak, the market was up 45%, but we have seen this slide since those highs in July. It's dropped back at the time of recording. It's about 800 points lower, so it's a massive 5% slide that we've had in the NASDAQ off these peaks. But I think it's still interesting because when we have a look at the charts in a bit more detail and look to set the trade up, we do have to go quite a long way this year to see the last time the NASDAQ slid by 5%. So as usual in this video, talk a little bit about perhaps why we are seeing markets cooling off. Then we'll just jump onto the charts, have a look at things in a bit more detail, the technicals, and look to get a trade on as usual. Before I get into that, just to talk briefly about some of the other stuff I do. You probably know I run a trading course, been running it for a few years now. To find out more, go to the website. As part of the trading course, more medium term and more short term trading, there's a WhatsApp group. It used to be just for people who attend the course, but I opened it up the last couple of months. It's proved to be popular. It's every morning I talk about markets I'm looking at, trades I'm in, where I'm thinking about stop losses, that sort of stuff. And there's a Q&A people can fire in during the day. If you'd like to try the WhatsApp group out, if you go to the website and go to the subscriptions part of the website, you can sign up. And if you use the code YouTube, you get a 20% discount off the first month to try it out and see what you think. So there's that. I'll put the links to all of this in the description below. And finally, if you go to the homepage of the website, you can sign up for the free weekly newsletter that I normally send out on a Sunday or first thing Monday. So it's all at davidjonestrading.co.uk. And as I say, the links are down below to see the courses, sign up for the WhatsApp group, or put your name in as well for the newsletter. Right, let's get into it then and take a look at the NASDAQ in a bit more detail. So like I say, it's been a great year for stock market indices, and the higher risk, higher tech indices like the NASDAQ have done particularly well. At the peak in July, the market was up 45% year to date. So that is a great performance for the year. It perhaps seems unlikely we're going to continue at the same pace into the end of 2023. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. So we have, what's caused this market to sell off? Well, I think a few things. It had a great performance anyway. And there's the classic saying, bull markets climb a wall of worry. So when markets are doing well, plenty of people are just looking for an opportunity to get out because they're worried about their profits going away. So I think if we do see something of a wobble after a market has gone so far, the risk is that perhaps we see that magnified. And we have had slightly weaker than expected jobs data lately. I don't think that's that terrible in the US, but again, perhaps an excuse to take some money off the table. And also perhaps earnings from the likes of Apple, which is a big contributor to the strength we've seen this year. So perhaps not as good earnings as some were expecting, have again introduced something of a cautious tone over the last 3 weeks or so. So I think those are the reasons we've seen the market under pressure. But how far is it going to go? Well, it's important to understand no market moves in a straight line. We think we have been somewhat spoilt by the likes of the NASDAQ this year, that we haven't had much over the last 5 or 6 months in the ways of pullback. So when a pullback comes, perhaps the knee-jerk reaction is to think, well, hang on, perhaps this is the end. This is the start of the next bear market. I don't think we're there yet. So for now, I think perhaps we should be treating this pullback as just a normal pullback within the trend, and then the market's going to calm down, hook round, and off we go again. But as usual, to put some flesh on the bones and put some skin in the game and get a trade on, let's jump onto the charts and take a look at things in a bit more detail. So let's take a look at this NASDAQ and see if we can get a trade on. So just to remind ourselves, the NASDAQ 100 we're looking at here peaked in November 2021 at 16,770. Then, of course, we had the sell-off. We had eventually other markets like the S&P rolling over in Jan 2022. The NASDAQ hit its lowest point for that sell-off. We've got to go back to October of 2022. Bumped around a bit. And then we had this rally that started from January this year. Let's take a look at that. So this is where we are at the moment in the NASDAQ. So for me, the big picture view, the trend is still up. We have seen a decent size sell-off. We've seen the market go from 15,946 down to, at the time of recording, which is just ahead of the US Open, down around 15,100. So we've seen the market drop back about 800 points or so. And we've got to go back to this sort of period here, February, when the market went from 12.9 all the way back to 11.6. So we saw a 1,300 point drop, a 10% drop it was back then in the NASDAQ, February through to March, before the market carried on higher. So we haven't experienced this sort of sell-off for almost 6 months. So I think that's perhaps one reason why some people perhaps are getting a bit jittery, perhaps thinking, is this the start of a much deeper sell-off? For me, I'm not convinced yet. So the trade I want to do, we'll come to it in a second. And perhaps I need to be a bit patient. But let's take a look at some of the levels to watch. Let's just zoom in a bit here. You know, we still have the lows from the 10th of July are still intact. So for me, you know, that's one area to keep an eye on, to think about potential support. 14,900 or thereabouts. After that, we've got more important lows, arguably down at 14.7. So just below where the market's trading now, some sort of 400 points below and up, we do have what could be potentially good support coming in. So I think it's a really interesting one to watch for the rest of August, to see if the buyers come back in. If we take a look at the RSI, it's not gone oversold. This is a 10-day RSI, but this is the most oversold the RSI has been since right at the beginning of 2023. So we've got to go back 7 months to see the RSI. It hasn't actually been oversold this year. It shows you how strong the market has been. The last time the RSI was sold was oversold. It was late December. But for now, it's a market that is, it's still sliding. The RSI is pretty low. So that's another thing that does suggest to me perhaps the right approach here from a medium-term point of view. And for me, medium-term trades are from weeks, perhaps into months, is to think about, right, I want to be a buyer at some point when we see some stability in this market. So the trade I am going to do, if I'm going to be a buyer, I'd rather not be a buyer today because it's still weak. If we flip this over to the hourly charts, here we go. It did slip to a new low for this down move yesterday, Thursday the 10th of August. So for my own trading, on my own personal account, I'd wait for signs of a turnaround. But because I do always like to get a trade on these YouTube videos, I'm going to put a trade on anyway, and I'm going to give it room, because I think ultimately I want my stop the other side of these lows, the late June lows. If I think we're going to see another major upswing in the NASDAQ, and if we look at this swing here from the lows in April, you know, the market went from 12.8 to 15.2. It was nearly a 2,500 point move in the NASDAQ. So if I think we're going to see a major swing, I don't want to get taken out just in the noise of the market. So I want to have my stop loss. Let's say I'm going to go 14,550 for a stop. So 150 points the other side of the June lows. And 150 points on the NASDAQ, you know, it's not really that much. The 2nd of August, we saw the market move 400 points in a day from high to low. So if I'm going to go 14,550, I'm giving the market plenty of room. Let's set that trade up. Before we get into that, a quick recap on my own trading from May through to the end of July. So the 3-month period, the latest 3-month period. If you watch the live streams, you know I talk about this to demonstrate that it is possible to be profitable, even though 70% plus of people lose. So I did another public trading thing from May to the end of July. I put £5,000 in an account. This is the summary from the broker as of the end of July. So 58% of trades ended up being winners, That is my statistical historical average. Risk reward is 1.25. So if I lost £100 when I was right, I'd make £125. And these are the important numbers down here. So total number of trades was 48 in a 3-month period, which is, what does that break down to? Perhaps 3 or 4 trades a week, which sounds about right. 28 winners, 20 losers. The net profit in the end was 3,116. That was closed profits on a £5,000 account. So that translates to a 62% return in closed profits over the 3 months. Now I have to say that past performance is no guarantee of future performance, but I do this to show that it is possible to be profitable. And all of these trades, I talk about the markets every day in the WhatsApp group. So to find out more, if you go to my website, davidjonestrading.co.uk, you can subscribe to the WhatsApp group by going to subscribe, click on there, and you can subscribe to that. If you use the code YouTube, you get 20% off the first month. If you want to have a look at the performance in a bit more detail, I last did this open trading thing back in November to January. So the results for that period are in there as well with all the trades I did. I'll put the latest bunch up later this month. To find out more about the courses I run, some details on that, what it all covers, have a look at the content. But if you go to the website, David Jones Trading, you can see all of that in there. And finally, I do send out a newsletter every week. If you go to the homepage, you can add your email in there and subscribe to the newsletter. So that's all the details for the trading for the month. So a couple of the last 3 months, a couple of big winners in there. I didn't really have a big winner. I closed in July, but there was a big winner, NASDAQ back in May. Big winner, Swiss yen. There was a good trend in that. Came out of that in June. There was one in July. There was another NASDAQ, not quite as big as the other big winner, but I closed that on the 14th of July, and there are losses. So that's what the P&L chart down here looks like over that 3-month period. So closing some losing trades in May, letting the winners run, the usual stuff. Anyway, let's get our trade on. Right, I'm ready to go. So I've got my dealing ticket here. The market's trading around 15,100, just about. I can trade fractional contract sizes on this. So just to show you, I'm going to trade half a contract. I'll put my stop loss in. I set at 14,550. So if I do that, trading half a contract, my risk is £275. You can see it there. I've got rules in place for when I'm allowed to move that stop loss if the trade gets profitable. But for now, let's just put the trade on, get the trade in there. There we go, the trade's executed. So I bought the NASDAQ US Tech 100 at 15,100 with a stop at 14,550. You can see the trade in there in my open positions with some of the other trades that we've done on some of the live stream. So overall, even though at the moment we've got a few losing trades in there, overall I'm up on those trades so far. There's the latest, that NASDAQ trade. So let's see how it works out. Let's jump back to the charts. So on this one, it's only if it starts breaking 14.7 would I start to worry about a deeper sell-off. Let's see how it turns out. But for now, we've been in this uptrend all year for the NASDAQ. Perhaps we won't repeat the same sort of pace of trend as it goes on into the end of the year. But the bias for the market is still up. I want to be a buyer. I think if we start losing these old lows from late June, then the risk is I'd be looking for a run back to the early June levels. And if we start breaking below there, it does look like we've got a full-blown reversal on our hands. But for now, I'm happy to stick with the trend. We've had a bit of a slide that is still in place at the time of recording. This market has been sliding. That's the highs for the year, 19th of July. So this market has been sliding for a good 3+ weeks now. It's still pretty weak. You can see these support levels coming up as well on the hourly chart, which is why I think it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks ahead in the second half of August. Let's see what happens, but I'm happy to be long, stick with long, got my stop loss in place. The trend is up. Let's see how it all turns out. As usual, for those in the WhatsApp group, I do updates every day on what's going on with US indices, but the live streams will be back towards the end of August, and we'll take a look at things then. That's it for this update in the NASDAQ. So wide-ish stop, but for these sort of trades, that I do on YouTube, I'm looking to hold it for at least a few weeks. So I want to give the market time to perhaps turn around and go the other way. I don't want to just get knocked out in the noise of the market. I do shorter term trades that I talk about on the trading course and also in the WhatsApp group. To find out more about that, go to the website, davidjonestrading.co.uk. You can sign up, the link's down below. You can use the YouTube code to get a 20% discount off the first month of the WhatsApp group. So go and find out more about that. Let's see. We'll see how it all turns out. I'll be back with the live streams in a couple of weeks. I think we'll see what these markets are doing then. But for now, that's it for me. So as usual, good luck with your trading and see you next time round.